whose many students have got Jati Award in the past, from IIT Roorkee also and from IIT Delhi. Nisha, you remember that meeting? I don't know, but it's wonderful of you. Anil, Kritiman, Dr. Andre, and Manish, who joined online. Dr. Dral, and friends. My first point that I want to share with you is that societies which adapt also innovate. Without innovation, you cannot adapt. But innovations are not only in technology, but also in institutions. And one of the first fulcrum of adaptation is foresight. So I'll tell you a small story, 2000-year-old story of Lord Buddha. He asked a student of his to bring a glass of water. So a student went and brought a glass of water. He took the water, gave the glass back. The student went back and kept it in the kitchen. He called him back. He said, "Tell me, what did you do? Sir, you asked me for bringing a glass of water. I brought it, you took it, I kept it back. No. Tell me, what did you do?" And he kept on repeating. After a while, that student realized. And that is where lies the wisdom of the teacher. He said, "Sir, you asked me to bring a glass of water." He took the water. While going back to the kitchen, I threw 2 drops of water on the ground. And he got his Zen. Now imagine 2000 years ago, there was no shortage of water. For next 1900 years, there was not going to be any shortage of water. And why is this teacher telling that even the drop of water must not be thrown on the ground, but in a plant or somewhere where it can be used? This is the foresight. What does it mean? That we cannot develop a resilient system for climate adaptation and risk reduction when problems occur or after the problems occur. We have to have foresight for next 2000 years. And this challenge, Nisha, is that we will have to develop capacity to learn from the elders who have lived through the hard times very frugally. When I was a child and we came from the market, bringing something, at that time there were no envelopes. The shopkeeper would have a piece of paper. There was a roll of thread hanging on the roof. He will keep the things in the newspaper piece, wrap it, and tie it with a thread. When we came back, my grandfather would say, "Now put this thread on the nail and spread the piece of paper under the bed. Next time you have to give something to someone, we will use that piece of paper and that piece of thread." Even 1 meter of thread was not wasted. That was our culture. So we have to remember now, there are 14,000 students in IIT Roorkee. And I'm going to appeal Dr. Singh, that if they can spend 1 or 2 weeks in immersive learning, in Uttarakhand, for example, hill areas, because Himalaya is one of the very important areas for us, or in the regions around this place where there are a lot of industries and they need. So we need to document. We need to document adaptive strategies and upload on the portal so that the students around the country get motivated and complement that, so that we can use an AI tool and generate as to if this, then that. And if this is the situation, what are our people doing? Can we improve it? That is where the science and technology will come in. That brings me to the next step, from foresight to fortitude. Fortitude is about positive deviance. You differ from what is going on. And there was an award that we gave to an innovator from Motihari, Champaran, Saidullah Saab, who designed an amphibious bicycle. Now when you have flood, you don't have enough people and not enough manpower and resources to take boat to every marooned house to deliver milk for the children or medicines for the people. A cycle which will work on the road, walk on the road and as well as in the water is what you need. But we couldn't diffuse that cycle. Every panchayat, every fire brigade station should have had that cycle in the areas where floods are frequently held, because it's such a low-cost solution. So therefore, we need to bring innovations. But innovations also deep tech. So for example, coral reef, as you all know, are being eroded. But they teach us a very important lesson. So what have people done now? And Dr. Singh mentioned that their campus is 177-year-old. Obviously, we need to learn how did they build those buildings which stand today without a fissure. But if there are fissures, then what people have tried to do is to look at the microorganisms which will trigger calcium calcite mixed in the cement into calcium carbonate and fix the fissures of 0.8 millimeter, which means that you have systems which can heal themselves in the event of small fissures, in the event of the earthquake. So we need to have both deep tech and grassroots innovations for generating resilience, and this is an area where DST should take lead as to how can we sponsor and support research which will generate what I call as autopoietic model. Autopoietic is self-generating, self-healing, self-governed systems of innovation, where we do not have to necessarily have external inputs into that system. So we need to imagine a knife which becomes sharper every time you cut fruits or vegetables. That is an autopoietic knife which learns to improve itself as it is used. So we need to create more and more systems, both institutionally. That means the disaster reduction program at district level should continue to experiment and innovate and learn, and so also at the national level. The third aspect, from foresight to fortitude, I will go to the faith. And you mentioned very rightly that extreme events are increasing. When extreme events are increasing, how do we learn? So when there was a tsunami, you know one community where there was not a single death, which was Jarawa in Andaman. They saw the stillness in the ocean, and saw that something is going to happen. And they went to the higher altitude immediately after seeing the stillness in the water. Water was not showing waves about a few hours before the tsunami. And that was enough for them to go to the higher altitude, and not one Jarawa tribal died during tsunami. So what I'm trying to say that we need to develop understanding of the ecological indicators, socio-ecological indicators that our society has evolved over tens of thousands of years to deal with the extreme events, and they have had many such events, but not as frequently as we have now, but they had such events in the past. So how do we harness the memory bank of the communities which have dealt with such problem? The fourth dimension that I would like to bring out is indicators that can help us, that have helped us in the past in maintaining the limits of the ecosystems within which system can be resilient. Resilience is bound by the range. No system can be resilient beyond a range, isn't it? Now, when rhododendron flowers, that gives an indication to the yak herders to move up, because cattle herders are going to come from the below to the above level. So yak moves down, cattle moves up, but they must vacate the pastures 1 month in advance. And rhododendrons flowering gives that time for pastures to regrow. Now, such indicators, without Wi-Fi, without walkie-talkie, they are able to coordinate their action across altitudes in the Himalayan region and maintain the resilience of the pastures. So this kind of knowledge, with all the tools of AI that you have, you cannot produce. You have to get this knowledge documented, understood, and then we will increase the resilience so that we continue to discover indicators which tell us in advance of the problem that are likely to occur. In climate fluctuations, we know that when ants take their eggs to the higher altitude, in 24 to 36 hours, rains are going to come. And the height to which they take their eggs, it indicates how much rain is going to be there, so that the ants have learned to save their eggs for posterity. Now, what I'm trying to say that this is the data which we don't have very much in our database, but we should have. And that brings me to the next issue. How do we bring a culture where material intensity of our solutions goes down and knowledge intensity goes up? That is what sustainability is all about. Because materials create entropy. And entropy is what we are trying to deal with, reduce in our ecosystem resilience. So we have to therefore increase knowledge intensity. And that will require distributed, decentralized, and diversified databases. So we have, for example, at gyan.org/databases, all our databases are open access. 1 million abundant US patents are available to all of you. Use them and blend them with whatever you wish to do. Similarly, 200,000 engineering projects by 600,000 students of IITs and other institutions are available at techpedia.in. I think the culture of open data, though government has a policy, but we have not moved very much forward, that all the funded projects from DST and other MOEF must be obliged to share their data in public domain, because that is the minimum obligation they have to the society. And once the data is available, we can develop good tools now with AI and RAG to maintain less speculative analysis by the tools that we have. But they will require guardrails, they will require training, and that training will require databases. So from SLM to LLM, we have to move in a very guarded manner so that we can use this data properly. Lastly, I would say that we need to develop a culture by which the local challenges are faced by local innovations, which will accumulate and aggregate together for global solutions. I remember when 13th Finance Commission, Dr. Kelkar was chairman, we got a district innovation fund created. But it was discontinued. Obviously, after that, other finance commissions have not continued. But should we think of now, in the next finance commission, a fund at each district level for innovations for climate resilience and disaster reduction? Innovations for climate resilience and disaster reduction in each district, directly provided by the finance ministry, so that nobody can stop it on the way, and it is available at district level. Gujarat has a district level disaster reduction tracker, plan and tracker. You can go to the website of GSDMA and you will find that they're also trying to find out climate adaptive strategies in each district level. And I think we have to go below the block level and the village level, where this capacity has to be built to deal with it. Within the 24 hours of the disaster, it is your next door neighbor who comes to rescue. In 2001, we saw that when there was a major earthquake. 11,000 people died in Rapar, and 20,000 people total died in Kutch. At that moment, the tools, the hand tools, or whatever other tools are available within the distance of 10 minutes or 20 minutes are the ones which will save life. So unless we build local database of these tools, by the time JCB comes or other tools come, it is already late, and we will not be able to save too many people in the event of disaster. So can we try to make a DMIS, disaster management information system, where volunteers, doctors, fire brigade people retired, and other people who are available in society volunteer to offer their support within whatever kilometer length distance that they can put. So one doctor says, I will happy to help in emergency within 10 kilometers. Somebody says, I am willing 50 kilometers. Somebody says within 100 kilometers. That is fine. That is voluntary. We cannot insist. But we need such a database to be able to be ready to deal with any disasters, man-made or natural, in real time with real resilience. So let me close by saying that there's a great deal that we can learn both from traditions and from contemporary science. We need to have a very robust program for research and innovations in the area of developing coping strategies that can be that are amenable to implementation by local communities and panchayat level, which means we have to have SOPs as simple as the people can local level see. I have walked 7,000 kilometers all over the country in every state. I saw only one school in Andaman where arrows were pointed out that if there is a disaster, where should children rush to? Not to more than one school in the entire country. Now, children are our most precious asset in a country, isn't it? So we must have in every school indicators of way out, that if there is a disaster, where should children rush out? Because they may not know, and at that moment, no, you can't guide. Everybody is trying to save their lives. So please understand that there are exceptions. There are cases of positive deviance where somebody has tried to do something ahead of the time, and we need to spot such outstanding examples of creativity and innovation which help us to learn and share our knowledge. And this portal, I think, should also be able to put together such positive deviance examples from both formal sector and informal sector. Thank you so much and wish you all the best.